1 hour a day. That's 365 hours a year. That's over 9 full work weeks. Imagine this 9 weeks every single year where you're reading books that have stood the test of time, studying wealth strategies from Carnegie, Rockefeller, and Rothschild, listening to tapes or lectures from the greatest thinkers of the last 2,000 years. What would happen? I'll tell you what happens. You begin to think differently. You begin to see patterns others can't, and you begin to make decisions others won't. Let's say you pick up a book on finance and read it an hour a day. In 3 months, you'll know more than most people learn in years. Not because you're a genius, but because you've built a habit of learning. Or maybe you dive into sales, persuasion, negotiation skills that move the marketplace. 1 hour a day, and in 6 months, you're not just better, you're valuable. That's how fortunes begin. You see, I used to be broken not just financially, but mentally. I didn't know what I didn't know, and that was the real danger. But someone wise once said to me, it's not what's costing you money that's the problem. It's what you don't know that's keeping you broke. That woke me up. So I started small. I picked up a book, not a novel, not a newspaper, but a book that taught me something about money, about mindset, about the mechanics of success. The first hour I didn't feel very different. The second, still nothing much. But by the 10th hour, my vocabulary began to shift. My thinking got sharper. My confidence got taller. And then one day I was in a conversation with a wealthy man, and I held my own, not because I had money, but because I had knowledge. That's when I knew I was no longer average. 1 hour a day turns into 7 hours a week. That's 365 hours a year. Imagine the person you would become if you had 365 more hours of financial education, or 365 more hours of persuasion skills, or health wisdom, or wealth-building philosophy in your mind. That compounds like interest. And the marketplace, it pays for value. When you become more valuable through learning, you don't chase success. Success finds you. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Just give it 1 solid hour and watch your life start to shift. One of the greatest tragedies of modern life is that we've gotten too busy to think. We rush from task to task, meeting to meeting, and call it productivity. But let me tell you something. It's not the hours you put in that shape your future. It's the direction those hours are headed. And without reflection, you could be climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. That's why I began setting aside 1 hour a day, not to do, but to think. 1 quiet hour. No phones, no noise, no distractions. Just me, my journal, and the truth. In that space, I asked myself the real questions. Questions most folks are too afraid to face. Who am I becoming? Not what do I do for a living, but who am I when no one's looking? Am I proud of that person? Where am I going? Am I drifting, or am I driving toward a destination I've chosen? What's working in my life, and just as importantly, what isn't? That kind of clarity doesn't come from the rush, it comes from reflection. I remember the year I doubled my income. It wasn't because I worked harder. I didn't suddenly get a new degree or change cities. I simply started thinking more clearly. That 1 hour of daily reflection became my compass. I looked at my associations, my habits, my goals, and I made course corrections. Tiny ones at first. But over time, those tiny corrections took me somewhere new. You see, a clock only tells you what time it is. A compass tells you where you're headed. That 1 hour becomes your compass. Without it, you might be running fast, but you're lost. With it, you move slower, but you move right. And over time, the right path always leads to the right results. When I first discovered the power of goals, it was like finding the steering wheel to my own life. Before that, I was working hard but drifting, busy but not building. But once I started writing down my goals, things began to shift. And when I gave it an hour a day, just 1 hour, to sit quietly and think deeply about where I wanted to go and who I wanted to become, my whole life began to take on a new shape. It's easy to be caught up in the moment, but without a vision, your energy has no focus. And unfocused energy is wasted energy. That 1 hour each day, pen in hand, notebook opening is where you turn vague dreams into concrete direction. I asked myself, what do I want financially, physically, spiritually, In my relationships, what will I settle for no more? And what will I absolutely insist on from my life? Those answers didn't come in a rush. They came with reflection. They came when I made time to think, to write, to refine. I remember starting with just a yellow pad and a dream. I would write, rewrite, set timelines, and then imagine the rewards. And something powerful happens when you do this every day. Your subconscious begins to align with your conscious intent. You start making decisions, even small ones, that serve the vision. You begin to attract the people, the opportunities, and the ideas that match your written goals. You develop what I call purposeful momentum. You won't need to guess anymore where your life is going because you've already mapped it. You won't need motivation from outside because the fire is lit within. 1 hour a day turns you from a wanderer into a builder. And once you become a builder of your future, the future becomes yours. When I finally understood that discipline was the key, everything changed. Not talent, not luck, not good intentions, discipline. 1 solid hour a day done with focus and commitment has more impact than a whole week of scattered effort. 1 hour of giving it all you've got, whether it's sweating through a workout, sharpening a skill, or grinding on your side business, becomes a declaration. A declaration that you refuse to be average. That you refuse to stay chained to a life of regret, distraction, and excuses. It doesn't take a miracle. It takes a habit. And discipline, though painful in the moment, has the power to set you free. You might say, but it's only an hour. Yes, but done every day, that hour becomes sacred. That hour builds physical muscle, mental muscle, financial muscle. It builds grit. It builds character. You begin to trust yourself again. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You stop negotiating with your excuses. I remember when I started carving out that hour each day to do the hard things, the boring things, the uncomfortable things. The needle didn't move right away, but I was changing. Quietly, slowly, but surely. And soon I wasn't like everybody else anymore. While they were complaining, I was building. While they were scrolling, I was sweating. While they were coasting, I was climbing. The hour of discipline is where you earn the right to have more, be more, and do more. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. And when you do it day after day, you'll look up one day and find yourself standing in a life you once only imagined. Not because someone handed it to you, but because you had the guts to work for it. 1 hour of disciplined done right is all it takes to begin the climb out of mediocrity and into a life of excellence. If you want to build lasting wealth, it's not enough to just show up and do the job. You must become indispensable, someone who commands respect and value no matter what the economy does. That comes from skill, the kind of skill that's sharpened with intention day by day. Investing 1 hour every day in developing a marketable skill is like planting a seed in rich soil. Over time, that seed grows into a mighty tree that can weather any storm. I've seen it in my own life and the lives of those I've worked with. The man who took an hour each day to master the art of speaking didn't just improve his confidence, he opened doors that no amount of luck could unlock. The woman who dedicated time to learning leadership didn't just move up the ladder. She built a ladder others wanted to climb. You can learn any skill, whether it's writing, coding, selling, or negotiating it. Each hour you put in compounds. You're not just working harder, you're working smarter and becoming rare. Here's the truth. Jobs come and go, markets rise and fall, but skill is the currency that never loses value. When you become a master of your craft, you become valuable in any economy. Employers seek you out. Clients pay you more. Opportunities chase you down. And it all starts with 1 hour of small, consistent commitment that turns average workers into top performers. That hour a day isn't a sacrifice. It's an investment in yourself that pays dividends for a lifetime. If you want to escape the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck and build real wealth, stop thinking about what you're doing for your job and start thinking about what you're doing for your skill. The richer you get in skill, the richer you get in life. If you want to become truly dangerous in the best sense of the word, 1 hour a day spent reading is your greatest weapon. It's not about physical strength or brute force, it's about the power of knowledge. When you open a book, you're stepping into a conversation with some of the greatest minds who ever lived. You're borrowing their wisdom, their strategies, their failures, and their triumphs. This is how you outthink the competition, not by chance, but by choice. I've seen many who rise above their circumstances simply because they read when others wasted time. They gained insight into human nature, business principles, and the habits that create success. As the saying goes, miss a meal, but don't miss a book. 1 hour of focused reading daily sharpens your mind, builds your perspective, and expands your understanding of what's possible. When others rely on luck or shortcuts, you rely on knowledge. That knowledge becomes your edge, your ability to navigate challenges with calm and precision. It's the difference between reacting to life and shaping life. If you want to build wealth that lasts, you must be willing to outgrow the ordinary. The market rewards those who learn, adapt, and grow continually. 1 hour might seem small, but it's the secret weapon of the successful. Each page read builds your intellectual capital, making you formidable in any field. So, take that hour daily, not just as a habit, but as a commitment to becoming dangerous in a good way. Your future self will thank you for the power you're accumulating today. There's a clear line between those who consume and those who produce. Most people spend their days scrolling through feeds, watching endless content and letting time slip through their fingers. But if you carve out just 1 hour daily to create, whether it's writing your book, designing a product, or filming that course, you move from being a spectator to becoming a builder of wealth. This hour is your declaration that you're done being a passenger in your life and ready to take the wheel. You see, profits come from producing, not just from trading your time for wages. When you create, you're building assets, something that can grow, multiply, and provide returns long after you've finished the work. That's the difference between someone who works paycheck to paycheck and someone who generates lasting financial freedom. I've witnessed people who started with nothing but a clear vision and an hour a day focused on creation. They turned ideas into products, products into businesses, and businesses into legacies. Creation demands focus and discipline. It's not always easy, especially when distractions are everywhere. But that single hour spent producing moves you steadily toward your goals. It's the compound interest of effort, where each day's work adds to the foundation of something bigger. While others binge on distractions, you're investing in your future. If you want to be wealthy, start thinking like a creator, not a consumer. Protect that hour of focused creation every day. It's not just about building wealth, it's about building your identity as someone who shapes their own destiny. That hour will change everything. There's a unique power in putting your thoughts down on paper. When you journal for 1 hour a day, you're not just writing words, you're unlocking a deeper understanding of yourself. Life throws so many experiences, challenges, and emotions our way. And if we don't take time to reflect, those moments can slip by, unnoticed or misunderstood. Writing clarifies your thinking, helps you sift through the noise, and brings order to the chaos inside your mind. In my own life, I found that journaling was like holding a mirror up to my thoughts and feelings. It allowed me to see patterns where I was growing, where I was stuck, and what I truly valued. More than that, it became a personal record of progress, a tangible reminder that every small effort mattered. When you take time each day to journal, you're not only recording your journey, but also learning to master your emotions. You start to catch negative thoughts early, recognize limiting beliefs, and replace them with empowering truths. Your journal becomes a roadmap. It shows where you've been and points toward where you want to go. Many successful people have credited journaling with helping them make better decisions, stay aligned with their values, and maintain focus on their goals. If your life is worth living, it's worth recording. The simple act of writing every day builds self-mastery over time because it forces you to confront yourself honestly and thoughtfully. When you discipline yourself to spend that hour journaling, you're investing in your greatest asset, yourself. It's a quiet practice that produces profound results, turning fleeting thoughts into lasting wisdom and turning self-awareness into unstoppable growth. Many run from solitude because it forces us to face ourselves without distraction. But there is a profound strength found in simply being alone with your thoughts for 1 hour each day. In that quiet, away from the noise and demands of the world, you build a mental fortress no one can breach. It's during these moments of stillness that you learn to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This practice trains your mind to become the leader of your own life, so you're not swayed by the opinions or pressures of others. I've seen how those who embrace solitude develop a kind of inner power that protects them from external chaos. When you spend time in silence, you start to understand your true self, your values, your fears, your desires, and that understanding becomes your anchor. Instead of being tossed about by circumstance or emotion, you stand firm. It's not weakness to want company, it's wisdom to seek moments alone. This daily hour of solitude sharpens your clarity, your emotional control, and your ability to make decisions rooted in your own convictions. The world will always try to pull you in different directions, but solitude builds a shield against manipulation. When you lead yourself with strength, no one can easily lead you astray. You begin to master your mind, which is the most powerful tool you possess. The discipline of solitude is not about isolation, it's about cultivating a calm center from which all your actions flow. That hour alone becomes a sanctuary, a place where your character is forged and your resolve hardened. It's in this quiet power that true leadership begins. Transformation is not a sudden event. It's a process that unfolds one deliberate step at a time. When you commit to one focused hour of action every single day, something remarkable happens. Your identity begins to shift. You no longer see yourself as someone who delays or doubts. You see yourself as a person who gets things done. This daily habit rewires your mind, changing how you view what's possible for you. You move from being a dreamer to becoming a builder, from a procrastinator to a doer. I've learned through my own journey that success is rarely about grand gestures or overnight breakthroughs. It's about showing up consistently and doing the simple, sometimes mundane tasks that others neglect. It's about discipline, practiced over and over, becoming a part of who you are. This daily hour is where character is built and confidence grows. The power is not just in the actions themselves, but in what those actions say to your subconscious. I am capable. I am committed. I am in control. When you look back after weeks and months of this steady effort, you won't recognize the person you were before. Your habits, your mindset, your results, they will all bear the mark of the consistent work you put in. This hour a day doesn't just produce results, it produces transformation. And that transformation is the foundation for lasting wealth and success. Remember, it's the small, simple disciplines practiced daily that lead to extraordinary lives. You see, the power of 1 hour a day isn't just some motivational catchphrase or a fleeting idea. It's a principle rooted deep in human nature and proven by the greatest achievers throughout history. 1 hour, just 60 minutes of focused, intentional effort, holds the potential to completely change the course of your life. It's a truth that works quietly, steadily, almost invisibly, yet its effects are profound and lasting. Consider this. Most people squander this precious time in distraction, in the busyness of their lives, caught up in routines that lead nowhere meaningful. They complain about not having enough time, yet they don't realize that by reclaiming just 1 hour daily for themselves, they could unlock doors to wisdom, clarity, skill, and success that most never even dream of. What you do in that hour matters more than you can imagine because it compounds. Like money, earning interest, knowledge, habits, and character grow when nurtured consistently. Look at the great men and women who shaped history. They didn't get there by accident or luck. They made a habit of investing time daily in their growth, reflection, and work. They understood that success is a harvest planted by tiny seeds of effort sown every day. They respected their own time enough to protect it and use it wisely. This is the foundation of wealth, not just the financial kind, but the wealth of health, relationships, wisdom, and peace. I remember when I first realized this myself. There were days when distractions and fatigue tempted me to give in, to postpone my growth for later. But the discipline to dedicate that hour, whether to reading, goal setting, reflection, or action was the difference between stagnation and progress. Over time, those small investments turned into big returns. Doors opened, opportunities came, and a different version of myself emerged, capable of achieving far beyond what I once thought possible. Your future is built on these daily decisions. You're either feeding your mind and character or starving them. You're either moving closer to your dreams or drifting away, and the choice is yours. That hour is your chance to take control, to rewrite your story. Don't underestimate the quiet power of consistency. It's the engine behind every great accomplishment. When you begin to respect that hour, protect it fiercely and fill it with purpose, you will see the invisible thread that connects your today to your tomorrow. Success isn't a magic trick or a sudden windfall. It's a process, slow, steady, and relentless. The promise of this hour is not instant results, but transformation. It reshapes who you are, what you believe you can do, and what you will become. So, decide today, will you let this hour slip away into nothingness, or will you claim it as your most valuable asset? The choice to use 1 hour wisely each day is the same choice that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the dreamers from the doers, and the unsuccessful from the successful. Your life will reflect this decision, so make it count. Remember, 1 hour a day can change your whole life, and that hour begins right now.